What did we do? Oh, we were actually on.
Can I ask about football? Did you watch the game yesterday?
No, I couldn't watch the game yesterday.
Oh dear.
No, there were more important things to do, apparently, according to my girlfriend. I've learned in recent times that one must demur to, occasionally you've just got to let it go, pretend it's not happening, read it in the paper next day.
Right, but you got to see the result, obviously.
Yeah, it's a good result.
Pleasing result. Yeah. Obviously, there's a link with cricket as well, with the Duckworth-Lewis method, and wonderfully successful album. If you had to choose one, football or cricket, if you could only choose one, do you think
it would be cricket?
Cricket, yeah?
Yeah.
Right.
Simply because it goes on longer. Cricket, it's more, there's more levels.
Yeah.
I think, football is amazing, but slightly one-dimensional in a way.
Yeah.
It's a good sort of quick buzz.
I can't imagine a concept album about football being as rich and as having the depth that possibly the...
No, I don't think that's a goer, because football's such a kind of tribal, aggressive kind of thing.
I'd still like to hear your effort of a song about John Terry falling on his backside, as he did in the Champions League final, a la jiggery pokery sort of thing. I think that'd be good.
You could do a penalty kick in that manner. But I don't know. I don't want to become known for just sporting funny songs.
No, of course not.
I don't want to be Bernard Cribbins no, that's not the word I was looking for. What was his name? Pebble Millet one. Did the funny songs.
Oh, I know the guy, but I can't remember his...
Never mind.
Not like Richard Stilgo.
Richard Stilgo,
yeah. So the Divine Comedy, obviously, you came to prominence at the time of Britpop, and your peers at that time would have been the likes of Oasis and Blur, and even to an extent someone like Menswear, perhaps. But
Menswear, what a band!
Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Obviously, they didn't have anywhere near the longevity of the Divine Comedy, but
I don't think they even started, did they? Apparently they got a record deal just by sort of wearing the right clothes and going to the right pubs in Camden and sort of saying we're in a band to various music journalists and record company people. And then when they got a record deal, they had to sort of think up some songs, which is kind of cool.
I imagine there's still a lot of that style over substance around today, but at that time, was it strange? You had this success, but was it strange being lumped in with that sort of Britpop movement? Because I think the Divine Comedy, in my opinion anyway, were much more than those sort of one-dimensional bands, 4 chords, verse, chorus, and all that sort of thing.
I didn't mind at the time. In fact, I was rather anxious to sort of get on some bandwagon because I thought it might be fun. I never made music to be sort of in a musical movement, because I couldn't second guess what was going to happen, and I was young and rather sort of, I was massively egotistical. I just wanted to make music and ram it down people's throats.
So sort of crest of a wave sort of thing.
But I wanted to be invited to the parties as well. In my sort of recollection, I think I only maybe went to 2 things that could be sort of conceivably sort of put into that
bracket. Was
Yeah.
there a time in that period when you thought sort of like, I'll think of an example like Top of the Pops, maybe appearing on Top of the Pops or something like that, that you thought, this is, the big time, or this is sort of...
Well, that's pretty much hit the nail on the head, because first appearance on Top of the Pops with Something for the Weekend. I'd died and gone to heaven, because I'd grown up with Top of the Pops, and that was pretty much the zenith of achievement, in my sort of... in one half of my estimations.
Yeah.
The other half is, has nothing to do with pop at all, and has to do with, making music that will stand the test of time.
Yeah.
So I've always sort of been a bit conflicted, in terms of what I'm after.
Right. Okay.
I've had to leave the whole pop thing behind, mostly because it's left me behind, So I've just gone off to be, sort of quirky singer-songwriter and hope that people still want to listen to the songs, you know.
But maybe if you hadn't done your own thing, you wouldn't have had the longevity that, say, any band like Menswear and so many other bands from that Britpop era have faded away.
Yeah. I mean, there are some notable ones that haven't faded away, like, I mean, Blur in various forms are still around. Obviously, Jarvis Cocker, and credit to him, you know, he's probably done the most interesting stuff, sort of all of them.
Yeah.
And Oasis, you know, they're just this massive dinosaur that you can't shift. You know, they're just there, and they'll always be just there, like the elephant in the room.
In terms of like the current show, your music's obviously, to my ear anyway, quite complex and, you know, multi-instrumental. Has it been difficult to translate that into a one-man show?
Surprisingly easy, really, because I'd always been very careful to write songs that could be played on one instrument. You know,
right?
You know, the art of songwriting, you know, and the structures and the developments within that are what I've always been I thought that I'm best at.
Yeah.
So doing it on, especially this album actually, because I wrote it all just straight out on piano, and then at the last minute when I was recording it, kind of added things to it, which is not usual for me. I usually sort of worked at the computer with guitar, keyboards, and sort of arranging it as it went along.
Yeah.
So with these songs it was much easier, and it sort of made sense in today's economic climate.
Yeah.
To do it this way as well, so everything sort of pointed in that direction. And also, some of my most favouriteest artists, it's great grammar, you know, are sort of very much one man and a piano kind of people, like Ben Folds, Randy Newman, Noel Coward, Cole Porter, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So in terms of the new album, it's quite disparate in the themes, and before you've done albums that were, you know, pretty thematically linked. Well, where do you look for inspiration when you're writing a new record? Do you just look at what's around you, you know, is it, or?
I don't know. Because I really, if I knew, then I'd sort of, then you'd be kind of constantly thinking about, I'm not making myself clear, basically, it has to sort of just happen. Yeah. It has to not be too thought out, or else it becomes contrived, and it's sort of obviously contrived.
Yeah.
So I really just write about things that interest me, or get me excited, or get me angry.
Like Complete Banker. I mean, I think with most of your songs, there's a certain empathy and sympathy almost, perhaps, with the protagonist, but I don't sense any of that in the Complete Banker.
Well, it's funny you said that, because another review I read said that I could even find some merit in that personality. I couldn't really find any redeeming features.
No, not the way you wrote. I mean, if you think of Bang Goes the Knighthood, I think there's a certain element of understanding there, like Diva Lady, you know, I think there's almost it can be quite cutting, but at the same time there's almost an understanding of that person and their motives, but I don't think it's there with the...
Well, I mean, you know, songs are not there to kind of be judge and jury on people, you know? They're there to kind of be some kind of window to make you go, oh yeah, you know? Well, my ones are anyway. So I'm never there to kind of just go, this person is beneath contempt, kill them. You know? That's pointless. You know?
All right. But one of the other songs in the album, Assume the Perpendicular.
What the hell's that all about?
I was thinking about, well, that's what I really wanted to ask you, to be honest. It's probably one of my favourite songs on the album. There's so much to pick, like, but that's possibly my favourite. And like the gist of it seems to suggest to me that you never want to go to Glastonbury as a tourist, as it were, again. Maybe, I don't know.
No, it's really just my kind of slightly wet architectural dreams, mixed with sort of lots of period dramas. And an article I read about a club called the Young Georgians, which are these kind of slowly types.
I see.
They probably come straight from Aberdeen or Exeter universities, and they go for weekends to look at a particular Georgian edifice in the country, you know, and talk to the owners and sort of look around. And I thought that was just brilliant. I mean, both at once ridiculous and kind of nice in this day and age that people would be bothered, you know.
Yeah.
So basically in the song I took it to ridiculous extremes. And that's what I do to make myself giggle, and if I giggle, then other people might giggle along.
Well, that's nice. It's like a window into that world, I suppose, as you said. And any song that can get a reference into buttresses, the way you said is
and make it sound rude.
Make it sound rude. So, I think your music lends itself to aspects of musical theatre, and always has done. And there's orchestral elements there, and the obvious choice might have been to write a musical, and I know you've now done that, haven't you?
Funny you should say that.
So why do you think it took so long to
well, because you don't just write a musical and then sort of go, I'm going to cast it and put it in a theatre. Other people have to kind of be on board. So it was just a case of waiting for people to be interested in the idea, and eventually the National Theatre came to me in the shape of Tom Morris, and he kept turning up at after shows going, you really ought to write a musical for us. Okay, and then we go away again for 6 months and nothing would be heard. And then finally we sort of started talking seriously about it, and I finally found the thing that I wanted to make a musical of, which was Swallows and Amazons. It took a lot of sort of hunting and thinking, because I didn't want to make anything huge and arty straight out. I wanted to write something with good tunes and that everybody would enjoy, and that would have, you know, just sort of like my own music, which is hopefully primarily an entertainment, but with other levels underneath. You know? So that's what the musical is trying to do. Yeah.
Is the album song This Island Life sort of a nod to Swallows and
Island Life was written for it.
Right.
You know, it just didn't make the cut because, not because it wasn't a good song, but because it didn't have a specific role. Right. You know, it didn't fulfill a purpose, and that gets incredibly important. The more you write for these things, the more you realise you can't have any just spare songs for the sake of it. They all have to do something necessary. So. I thought, well, I'm not going to throw that one away, that's good, so I'll put it on the album. Yeah.
Well, the new album's a complete joy, and I'm really looking forward to hearing you tonight.
Far too kind, thank you very much.
No, believe me, it's a thrill for me, so long may you make music, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.